welcome to another episode of Quarantine Theater. I'm Brian Kruger, and I try to help you with some difficult problems during these difficult times. Let's go straight to the mail. Today's letter is from a Jerry Land, and he's from Melvindale, Michigan. Dear Brian, a friend of mine has a high school age son who just broke up with his girlfriend. Can you give my friend any advice about how to deal with this, or maybe to his son on how he should behave? Signed, Jerry Land. P.S. That sure is a swell movie projector. Over. It's kind of weird. Okay. Jerry, I'm glad you wrote the show. I was in the vault the other day, and I think I found a movie that's going to fit the bill perfectly. This is a story about a high school couple that just broke up, Jill Anderson and Dave Forsythe. Let's see what happens.
Look, Jill, why don't we talk about it tonight? I'll pick you up early. Around 7:30, we'll go to an early show and... Come on, Jill, don't look so serious.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about, Dave. I can't go out with you tonight.
What gives anyway? You got a family party on or something?
No, it's nothing to do with the family. I don't know how to say this, Dave, but... I'm dating Jimmy Dawson.
Give me that again?
I'm dating Jimmy Dawson.
That show off? Who thinks he's such a big football hero? What's the idea? You falling for his phony shoulders or something?
He asked me to go out with him, that's all, and I said I would.
What about the little matter of going steady with me?
I decided it's time we broke up. It's stupid for kids our age to keep going out with the same person year after year.
I guess your mother thought up that line.
She did not. I can make up my own mind. Look, I told Jimmy that I'd meet him after school this afternoon. He's waiting for me right down over by the corner, so I better go now.
Yeah. I guess a guy has to have a car to impress a girl like you. Along with some phony shoulders. Well, your boyfriend better watch out. Because he might meet a guy with a Cadillac someday. And then where'll he be?
All right, a few things. We get introduced to Dave Forsythe, who has a problem. We get introduced to Jill, who likes a guy named Jimmy Dawson. And we kind of see where this is going. We also see that maybe Dave Forsythe, we'll just call him Dave from here on out, has a problem with anger. And we also know that bike never stood a chance, ever. And I'll also say this. I think Dave went down a bad road when he brought the mom into it. Once you start talking about a girl's mom, things can kind of get dicey. But we also think there's probably going to be a car involved too, and that's how the bike became the victim, right? As soon as we started talking about a car. Anyway, so let's see how this plays out. I don't feel good about this.
But even if we don't beat Western, we still have a mathematical chance of getting in the playoffs.
How come?
Well, you see, we're one game up on them now. Our games with Lincoln High. Western still has a game with them.
And they haven't beaten Lincoln all year.
That's right. That's what I say.
Isn't that how?
Pretty good guy, though.
Okay, so it appears that Jimmy Dawson is a pretty swell guy. There's no denying that. I also get a kick out of the fact that the guy running the soda shop there is just smoking the whole time. You gotta love that too. All right, let's see what happens when Dave sits down with his boys and they start talking about this.
Yeah, pretty good guy, though. Hi, fellas. Hello, Dave. How's it going? Man, lousy English exam, old man Peterson sprung on us today, huh?
Yeah, lousy is right. I never even knew there was such a thing as George and poets. How was I supposed to name him?
I put down George. I figured there ought to be at least one Georgian poet named George.
Boy, Peterson will get you for that. He's still mad about the time you brought him the bunch of daffodils after we studied that poem about daffodils by Wordsworth.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peterson's crazy about me.
Hey, is that the new sophomore?
Yeah. You never guessed she was only 14?
Telling me. Wow.
Okay, that might be the first and last time in anything I have here in the vault that talks about Georgian poets and a poet named George. You know, Dave might think he's clever, but that one didn't go. The other thing is, they're talking about the new sophomore who just walked in. They might be being a little creepy because she's only 14, and all four of these guys look like they might be 30-something. I don't know what it is about old films, but all the high school kids in old films tend to look like they're about 30-something. I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, I'm also starting to hear a hint of Canadians. Pay attention to that.
Say, Dave, what happened to your steady? There she is with Jim Dawson.
You have a fight? Dawson has a car, and boy, does it ever impress that doll.
Yeah, it's those flashy white wall tires that send her, man.
She wants to get into the big time, Davy boy. Captain of the football team and all that.
Well, I was getting kind of sick of her anyway. That Dawson, what a show-off. You know, he really thinks he's somebody? Well, as far as I'm concerned, they deserve each other.
Hey, Dave, how come you didn't turn out to football practice all week?
Because I quit the crummy team, that's why. Coach, he doesn't know what he's doing, and the team's going downhill so fast it isn't even funny. I'm going over to see what gives with the new doll.
I'm going to go over and see what gives with the new doll. Well done, Dave.
Did you hear about Dave? Coach left him on the bench during the whole of last Saturday's game. Boy, was Dave mad. He quit the team right the next day.
He hasn't anything to be sore about. He thinks the team can't get along without him. He's kidding himself. Let's face it, he's just not that good.
Well, they beat us 3 out of 4, but we're a lot better than we were then. They hit their peak just about that time, and I don't think they've gotten any better.
Hi, Jill. Hi, Judy.
Oh, hi. Boy, I'm really outnumbered now. I gotta go, Jill. I'll see you tonight. About 8?
Sure.
So long.
I thought you went steady with Dave Forsythe.
We broke up. Gee, I always thought Dave was cute. He's okay. He acts like a kid, though. But he's so funny in class. You should go out with him, then you wouldn't think all those wild tricks were so funny.
I always thought Dave acted like a kid, too. You can only take so much of that fooling around.
Honest, he's like a big baby the way he shows off. You should have seen him last Monday in the hall at school.
Hey, Dawson, I'd like to speak to you for a minute.
Sure, Dave.
I guess you think you're pretty smart playing up to the coach last Saturday and getting him to leave me out of the game.
Oh, now, wait a minute. You got your wires crossed, boy.
Who are you trying to kid? I saw you talking to the coach just before the game, and I could see you looking straight at me. Pretty dirty trick fixing it so I couldn't play.
Dave, for Pete's sake.
We were talking about the new play, Dave. We didn't mention you once.
Oh, come off it, Forsythe. You know, it's possible the coach doesn't think you're good enough.
I know a dirty deal when I see one.
Ah, you're nuts.
It was awful.
Wow, I'm really surprised that didn't come to blows. Do you hear the language in that? For Pete's sake, and wires crossed, baby boy, and you're nuts. I mean, it could have erupted. I don't know. Well, I still think that Dave here is getting ready to explode on some level. And again, Jimmy Dawson seems like a pretty swell guy. Let's see what happens.
It was awful. I was so embarrassed I nearly died. This wasn't the first time that Dave acted like that either. I was really fed up. And then, well, Jimmy asked me to go out with him a couple of days later, and I thought it'd be terrific. He's so nice. Well, he acts his age. Are you going to go steady with Jimmy now? Oh, I don't know. This is the first time I've gone out with him.
I don't blame you for telling Dave off. He's an awful mama's boy. Gee, I gotta be going.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, we're about to meet Dave's parents, Fred and Lila Forsythe. Pay close attention to this. There's a lot of dynamics in here that you need to pay attention to. And let's just watch. Just watch.
Can't you say excuse me to your mother for being late?
I'm sorry, Mom. Excuse me.
Your mother can't keep dinner waiting just because you feel like hanging around the streets a little longer.
I said I was sorry, didn't I?
It's just another indication of your constant thoughtlessness and irresponsibility.
Say, Dad, do you think I could have the car tonight? I'll take real good care of it, and I'll fill it up with gas when I bring it back.
What do you want with the car?
Gee, Dad, girls won't go out with a fella unless he's got a car.
Take Jill Anderson out long enough without a car.
Well, she left me for a guy with a car.
Who's that, dear?
Oh, that crummy show-off, Jim Dawson.
He's a good boy, young Dawson. And I understand from his father that he saved his money and bought that car himself.
Dad, are you going to let me have the car or not?
No, I am not. You're too young to be running around in cars at night with girls.
I'm 16, aren't I? I've got a license. What's the sense of having a license if you can't drive?
Okay, so we know that Mr. Forsythe, Fred, is upset, and he's got that Bela Lugosi hair thing going on, which is a little freaky. We're about to meet Mrs. Forsythe as well, Lila. Lila has a speech impediment. I'm just tipping you off beforehand so you don't giggle during her lines, because they seem to put as many S's in her lines as they possibly can. I think that the writers are having her on. Let's just see what happens.
But all the mothers say so. Well, this afternoon at Lucy Fillmore's, they were saying that...
Look, Lila.
I got to listen to that exchange one more time. I need to put the film in reverse for a moment. Okay, let's try that one more time.
But all the mothers say so. Well, this afternoon at Lucy Fillmore's, they were saying that...
Look, Lila, you know I need that car in my work. Now, if he got in an accident, what would I do? Anyway, what does he do with all the money he makes at the grocery store? Let him save his money and buy a car, just like young Dawson.
All I ever hear around here is money. I'm getting sick and tired of it. I never get to do anything the other kids do. And the excuse you always give me is money.
All right, that's about enough, young man. I didn't come home from a hard day's work just to get impertinence from you.
You always treat me as though I were about 6 years old.
That's because you act like you were 6 years old.
Fred!
Lila, something has got to be done about that boy. He's unstable, he's irresponsible, can't save money, he's girl crazy. Why, when they wouldn't let him play in Saturday's game, he quit the squad.
Fred, sit down. Stop being so excited. He's young. Things like having a car mean a lot to him. Oh, maybe I've babied him, but... You know, Fred, you haven't always set the best example for him. Being your son, he wants to be like you. He wants to copy you. And you have to admit you blow your top awfully easily sometimes. Like tonight. You bawled him out without even asking him why he was late. And lately, you've nagged him from morning till night. Can't you say something nice to him once in a while?
I Can't seem to get near the boy.
You expect too much of him. I wish you'd arrange something nice for the two of you. Something you could do together. Couldn't you get together for a Saturday?
Lila, I don't mean to be hard on the boy. Really. Look, I'll try to think up something that we can do together. And in the meantime, how about you going up and talking to him about being more responsible? Frankly, his attitude worries me.
Okay, like most good mothers, Mrs. Forsythe, Lila, tries to be the voice of reason, and I think she is for the most part. And for his part, Fred even tries to listen to her. Maybe he has been being too harsh, but he also has a hard time getting through to the boy. But we can also see that Fred has some anger issues himself. He goes from 0 to 60 in about 1 second. You see him throw that silverware down. Anyway, let's see how Mom does trying to talk some sense into Dave.
Dave, dear, don't be so upset. You must try to understand how your father feels about the car. You know, perhaps if you saved up some of the money yourself, he'd help you buy one.
He won't help me with anything. Doesn't trust me. I wouldn't hurt his crummy old car. Always acts as though I was a dumb kid.
Well, Dave, you should show him you're responsible. Lately, you've been awfully rebellious. You know how angry it makes him.
Never notices anything good I do. Just yells all the time.
I wish you wouldn't be like this. Well, I'll leave your dessert in the refrigerator for you. Well, I certainly didn't get very far. He can be terribly stubborn. You know, Fred, he said you never notice when he tries to please you. Sometimes I wonder if we don't set up standards that are just a little too high for him. And then when he can't come up to them, he gets angry and snaps at everyone. I think he's really anxious to please you.
I think I'll go up and have a talk with him. See if I can't work something out.
Okay, so here we go. Mr. Forsythe is going to go upstairs and try to have that talk with Dave, and maybe they can find some common ground and move this thing forward. I have my doubts. Let's see what happens, because he's going to go upstairs and see if he can work it out. Okay.
Dave, may I come in? Dave, I'm sorry about our argument, but I wish you'd try to see my point of view about this car business. Look, since you won't be with the team Saturday, how'd you like to see the game with me?
No, thank you.
What do you mean, no, thank you? Look, I've heard about all I can take from a young brat like you. Despite your bad behavior, I came up here and tried to be friends. I even apologized. You didn't even try to respond like a human being. Something's gonna be done about you.
Well, that didn't go well. Now we have a teenager who is filled with rage. Dave is going out. We don't know what he's going to do, but I don't think it's going to be good. Let's see what happens.
Dad, this is Jimmy.
Jimmy, how are you? Nice to see you.
Hello, Mr. Anderson.
It's quite a car you've got there.
Yeah, it's a real bomb, sir.
Well, I hope when you drive it as a car and not as a bomb.
Oh, Jimmy's a good driver, Dad.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's good.
Why don't we go ahead and sit over there for a while?
Okay.
Couple things really quick. Mr. Anderson, I know where you were going with that don't drive the car like a bomb joke. The intent was good, but you just didn't stick your landing. B- on that joke. I knew where you were going with it, but you just could have done a better job. Now, all that said, the suit, A+. Dads in suits. In these films, you'll notice, most of them from the vault, the dads are always wearing a suit. Always. And I like that. We need to get back to that. Dads in suits. Remember that. Now let's see what happens.
Kid, come on. What? You want to give me a fight?
You give me a fight, too.
Did I hurt you?
It serves you right for asking me.
Where you going? You going to go for a ride with me?
No.
Oh, come on. Here we go?
Okay.
Okay. Let's go.
10 minutes. Dave.
A few things. I grew up in Ypsilanti, a little town outside of Detroit, and we were kind of rough. My man here breaks a lot of rules on slashing tires. First of all, don't slash the tire when the guy who owns the car is like 20 feet away, and he prefaces it by saying, "Do you want to go for a ride? Let's go for a ride." And then if you're going to slash the tire, don't take the time to rip the sidewall off, because you see where this gets him. Bad marks all the way around on this one. He's just not a really good tire slasher. Okay.
Oh, yes, Mr. Anderson. What's that?
How did Dave get into a situation like this? It seems impossible. But Dave was emotionally unstable. He didn't think straight about what he was doing. Why can't Dave face facts and accept life as it is? Why does he have such an exaggerated idea of his own importance and ability that he can't see things as they are? Because he can't fit the real world into his unreal idea of how it should be, he is so frustrated that he loses control of himself. With help, Dave can learn to control these emotions and develop more mature attitudes. But how could his emotional instability have been prevented?
I knew it. You see that? It's made in Canada. Anyway, so this one ends a little bit abruptly, and we don't have a happy ending on the end of this, which I'm starting to see as sort of a pattern that maybe, you know, we need to discuss what should happen next. I'm not in the mood for that now. But Jerry Land, I hope this answers some questions for your friend and your friend's son about anger, the breakup, but mostly about maybe that father-son relationship, how you can maybe make that better. Anyway, thanks for coming to Quarantine Theater. We'll see you next time.
This is the American dream.